Hi and welcome to WarHQ. My name is Lucius, and in today's episode what we'll be doing is going through a competitive build for Heratic Astartes roster. Now this will be a 20-man roster as per usual, and I'll be providing both 100 point equivalents and 125 point equivalents, because the first thing I found with Heratic Astartes in particular when I was doing this roster, and I've been working on it for a while, and painting the models is the main thing I've been doing with it, the first thing I found was that 100 point lists are quite, I'm not going to say inadequate, but they're not quite as competitive as their 125 point equivalents. I think at 125 points, Heratic Astartes becomes very competitive. At 100 points, it's kind of low middle tier, not so great. Like most elite armies, it doesn't have a lot of options, you know what I mean? Like, because everything's so expensive. And a lot of the points don't line up as well with the main things that you'd want to use. But anyway, I've done that today, and we've got a lot more videos coming out because I've been a little bit away while moving house, and I apologise for lack of uploads, but I'll try and get quite a few out in the next couple of weeks just to make up for that to you guys. So thanks heaps for sticking around, and before we start the episode, make sure to subscribe to the channel. It only takes you a second to do, but it means a lot to us here at WarHQ. Helps us to continue on to do bigger things. And if you really like what we do, we've had some good comments of people saying, our list builds really help people and help them get into Kill Team. Please consider becoming a subscriber. Donate as much as you want every week, every month. It's no big deal. If not, no dramas. But anyway, here's the episode. Okay, so what I've decided to go with here is choose the Legion trait of Iron Warriors. So with the Iron Warriors, you're able to take, mixed bag teams, I guess, of different Chaos Warriors and stuff that worship different gods. And the reason I went for this one is I quite like what I'm trying to go with this one is I'm going to base it mainly around sort of good shooting, I guess. And I'll explain that a little bit later. But why I'm going for the Iron Warriors mainly is models in your kill team do not suffer the penalty to injury rolls for the target of their attacks being obscured and within 1 inch of a model or terrain, a piece of terrain that is between the two models. So this is really good. And it doesn't actually specify their just shooting. So that could be even if there's intervening terrain between combat as well. So that makes them really good, in my opinion. Now I could have these are sort of painted, I guess, most of these models in my sort of version of the Emperor's Children kind of thing. And the Emperor's Children really do have a good list build, but I was thinking for competitive play, I'm not so sure about taking Slaanesh models because like every elf team, being Harlequins, Drukhari, Nazirani, all get bonuses to fighting Slaanesh. So I don't know in a competitive format if that's a good idea to give your opponents that much a bonus over you, I guess, is a bit of a disadvantage in my opinion, since you don't get a bonus to fight them. I think they get like -1 to their morale test if they're within a certain area of your guys, but still, I don't know. I don't know if it's worth it personally. So anyway, Iron Warriors, that was my choice for the sub-faction. I think the best thing to do first is to have a look at the individual positions that are held within this roster, and then go through each of the individual list builds that I've done. I've done 5 individual builds based around different, reasons you'd use them in a competitive game sort of situation. But anyway, let's have a look here. So first things first, we have our Chaos Champions, and we've got 2 of them. So the first one is this fella. And now he, as you can see, has the Plasma Pistol, and he also has the Power Fist. He comes in at 18 points. Now he is backed up by this little fella, who is a Chaos Champion as well. But this one is repping just your normal bolt pistol, and he has the Power Axe. And he has the Icon of Flame as well. So the Icon of Flame, if you don't know what that does, basically it's a Zench thing. So this is a Zench guy. So I should say that the first guy was Khorne. This guy's Zench. So with Zench and the Icon of Flame, basically this guy can, if he's, it's basically like a Firebolt in itself. Like you roll a 6 each turn. Like if you roll a 6 each turn on it, you get to basically do a free mortal wound to an enemy target. So that's position 2, which brings us to our gunners, and we've got a few. So the first gunner is this dude, who's my Noise Marine. Now I'm proxying this guy today for an autocannon, which I think is completely legit. I think no one's going to really bat an eyelid at that. He's Slanesh, obviously, and I'll go through why I've made my gunners Slanesh later on in the piece. But yeah, that's that guy. He's pretty groovy looking dude. Okay, next gunner is our missile launcher. So we've got the missile launcher here in the next position. Really like this model. It's very cool. So yeah, missile launcher. You could take this guy as a heavy specialist if you want to, which would probably be the best way to roll him, because then he can move and shoot, and you can also increase his attacks. Next gunner, and this is from the second tier of gunners, if you know anything about the Chaos Space Marines. 3 of them can be from 3 of the weapon options are on one Marine, and the other 3 are on the next Marine. So those 2 go together, the autocannon and the missile launcher, and then these next 2 go together, so which gives you options, I guess. So this guy's got the plasma gun, pretty standard. And then I've also taken from that same tier of heavy weapons, I've got the flamer as well. So this guy is a flamer. Now keep in mind, if you wanted to, I don't have it in this list, but if you wanted to, you could take either a melter gun or you could take this guy with the heavy bolter. I've decided not to in this list roster, but he's definitely a viable option if you want it. But yeah, I just find, and he'd go with the autocannon and missile launcher tier of things. Okay, so that's the heavy weapons, which brings us on to our normal Marines, normal Chaos Marines. So we've got one guy who has a bolter. He's pretty standard. Now here's a couple of our specialist lists. I'll use this guy. He is our only bolter Marine. I'm not a big fan, if anyone knows me, of bolters, but it could be good in some lists. Now next 3 guys we have the close combat equivalents with chainsword and bolt pistol. So this is the first guy, and there's just 3 of them. Second guy, whoop, drop them all. It's the second guy here, that's him, and third guy as well. So you get a bit of a taste of those little guys. Again, just awesome models. You might have seen my original breakdown of the unboxing of these Marines, so this is them painted now. Spent a lot of time on them, so hopefully it shows. I'm not the best painter in the world, but I'm not the worst either. So that brings us on to our next section, which is sort of specialists of different sort of things. So I've got a possessed model, not the most popular model in the Heratic Astartes team, but it's definitely effective, and I've found a couple of ways to use it. Makes a really good combat specialist, and I say that because it's already very strong and gets some good bonuses, but with a combat specialist you've always got that +1 to its attack figure. So and it's a random attack that this thing has, so like how many attacks it has each turn, so having that +1 always ensures that even if you roll the worst, you'd at least get 2 as a minimum. We have some Khorne Berserkers up the back here, so we've got 2 of them. Now the first one this is the out of print model one, the old metal model, which we need to get into focus for you guys. There he is. So there's the Khorne Berserker Champion, and then there's just a really old school plastic one, so this is sort of the generation after that, from, I don't know, probably the 90s or early 2000s. This is one of the original ones, and I've converted this guy. He's got like a power glove, but it's a custom sort of shoulder thing that I put on him. Yeah, and then there's just this normal guy as well, and he is really short. Like if you put him beside the other guys, he looks like a midget. So obviously his transhuman physiology stuff that they, and they didn't really work on him. Not the height bit anyway, but he's strong as nails, so that's one good thing. Now I do have a Terminator champion here as well. Now you could, this is a Terminator champion, and I took him with some sort of, as a sort of a close combat sort of setup. So he's got like the power axe, and he's got the combi shooter as well. So this one's like a flamer and a bolt gun as well. So that gives him a bit of option. So in close, he's got really good overwatch with his flamer. He's good at killing things, and the champion gives him an extra attack as well. So another option here, which I'd probably go, which I don't have the model for, is to make him like an autocannon build, like a Reaper autocannon. I think I've used that a lot with my playtesting, and it's actually really good, but I just don't have the model. So that's another option, is to make him a gunner. Now, rounding out the team, we have the Cultists. So We have one cultist here who I converted with a chainsword. So I tried to make these models a little bit different. So here's I take this guy as a leader. I have 2 leaders, so there's this guy, and there's also the champion with the axe is a leader as well. So this guy's, yeah, pretty rugged. Cultist leader. Don't know why Chaos Marines would follow a cultist, but hey, that brings us down to his mate here. This guy is a close assault cultist, so he's just got the the brutal assault weapon and the auto pistol. We've got one of those in the roster. Now we have two shotguns in the roster, so that's these guys. I just take them as shotgun dudes. I think the shotgun's probably your best option, because in closer range you can get 4 strength with a shotgun as opposed to the 3 from the auto gun, which is a bit underwhelming really. But for 4-point model, who cares really? And then that brings us down to the last 2 models, and these are really cool. And I had to convert these. So these are 2 conversions I made of flamers. So these, I think I purchased these separately, these flamers, and I think they're from the Raptors. So the Chaos Raptors, I think, have these flamers, and I just bought the flamers separately and had to just sort of roughly convert them to fit these models. And anyone who buys these normal cultist models knows there's only, I think there's 5 variants, and then that's it. So unless you're going to get like the Servants of the Abyss ones, which have a bit more flavoursome, that's pretty much your options. And that, my friends, is the roster it stands. Now let's go on and look at the individual lists. Okay, so list variant 1. What I'm going to call this one is my Horde Killer list. So what I'm aiming to do here is, obviously anything we come across which is Horde related, we need to get up close and personal, or they're going to get up close and personal with us, is basically what we need is volume of fire, we need close combat support, and some decent hand-to-hand weapon stuff. So this one sort of solves that problem, I think. This is the 100-point version. So what we do have is we have our Chaos Marine with his axe, the champion, who is our leader. We have 2 heavy gunners, so we have the auto cannon, and we also have the flamer. So we have the flamer as well there. Now, normal Chaos Marines, we have the normal bolt gun, which I normally take as a comms specialist, which usually links up with the auto cannon. And then we also have 1 close combat assault dude over here with a chainsword and bolt pistol. We have quite an array of the cultists, so we have a normal close combat cultist, we have 2 shotgun cultists, and we also have both of the flamer cultists. So this team has 3 flamers in it. 2 of them are quite cheap. One of them is on a marine platform. So you've got lots of awesome support there. And then the shotguns are good for in close with the cultists as well, and you've got the brutal assault weapon, the other guy. And then pretty much everything else is set up for close combat, except for the autocannon. So the autocannon and the bolt gun are sort of set up as your, I suppose, your rear field defenders, but can also provide good shooting as well. So you make your autocannon, for example, a heavy specialist, and he pairs up well with the bolt gun, who is a comm specialist, and then these 2 can get some work done up in the backfield and also get a bit of bolter support as well, while the others claim objectives and crush face, I guess. So that is that list, but what happens then is when we go to 125 points, it makes it quite easy. I think this list comes out at straight up 100, I think, for this first list. But when you go to 125 points, quite easily, what you do is you add in 2 more close combat assault marines. So with chainsword and bolt pistol, sorry. So that gives you 3 guys close combat orientated, and then also with a close combat orientated leader with the icon of flame as well. So that's your 125 point version of that list build. Alright, so what we have here is list build number 2, and what I'm going to call this one is my elite killer list. So basically with the elite killer list, this is for fighting marines, fighting things that are just a bit tougher than your normal average bear. So pretty much the polar opposite of the first list that I made. Now this is the 100-point equivalent, which comes out at 99 points. So you've only got 8 models in this force, which does make it a little bit smaller, with a lower breakpoint than the first one, but it does have some better quality stuff. So you start off here, you've got your champion with with power fist and plasma pistol. You have autocannon and a plasma gun. So there's 2 good weapons against heavy armor. They're backed up with the bolt gun. guy who is also the comm specialist. This guy could be a heavy specialist, I think, and you could make this a sniper or whatever you want to make it. Now, as far as close combat punch goes, you've got obviously the leader, but then you've also got your berserker champion. And your berserker champion has the power fist and the power axe as well, so he is super strong, or chain axe, whatever that thing is. And this is complemented with 3 cultists as well, so you've got 2 shotgun cultists, and then your leader in this instance is going to be this guy, so your close combat assault cultist. So this is the 100-point version of this list. It gives you a little bit of killing power. You've got really good killing power. You've got 2 power fists here. You can nail stuff in close combat, and also the plasma pistol, and then backed up by good long-range shooting as well. And then just these guys are really just to hold objectives and to get out of the way while these guys get all the work done. Now, when you go to 125 points, things do start getting interesting. So the first thing we do is we take out the autocannon, and we replace the autocannon with the missile launcher, which costs 2 more points. So now I can fire crack missiles and frag missiles as well, which makes him even stronger against heavier targets. And we add another berserker. So just the regular berserker goes in there as well. And we've still got enough points to add 1 flamer cultist as well. So that's your 125 point version of the elite killer list. And yeah, I think it can be quite effective. As I said, you've got good close combat, you've got good long range, you've got a little bit of backup and support here as well. And yeah, 2 of these berserkers is going to make a bit of a difference as well, as long as I don't die. So list variant 3, what I call this one is my balance list, or just my standard sort of list. This one's really to get maximum sort of bodies and useful stuff in there. Okay, so this could be good in a few situations. So the first thing we have going is we've gone back to our leader with the icon and the power axe. He's the leader, and he's also a champion. We have taken all 3 of the close combat assault marines. We have the autocannon gunner as well, and we have a possessed. So we've taken a possessed in this list, and he's a groovy, ugly looking sucker. And we've also, as backup and for objective holding, taken 3 just normal cultists, 1 close combat and 2 shotguns. So the idea of this list, this is at 100 points again, this one. It's pretty much an all-rounder. Like, you don't have full heavy gun support, but you've got good close combat. You know, this guy's backed up, you know, with the possessed as well, can be quite good in close combat, and your leader. So overall, fairly balanced sort of looking force. A little bit different, might not be what the enemy expects. You can also, if you in this force too, you could switch one of these out with a bolt gun guy and get the comm specialist if you want, but I couldn't do that because we've got other specialisms here, like I've got heavy specialist, this guy's a combat specialist, etc. So you are limited on specialists, and you'll get that extra specialist in the 125 point version of this game, of this particular list, which gives you another chaos cultist with a flamer, and also gives you the plasma gun, so the plasma gunner. So that gives you a lot more punch from range with the 125 point version of this list. So now you've got your 2 gunners and etc, etc. And look, it's all very customizable too. You know, like you can, if you didn't want to say take the plasma guy, you could switch him for the flamer. And yeah, you know, you can sort of do what you want there. You could also, you know, yeah, lose this guy and take two cultists instead if you want. It's really up to you. But that is list variant number 3. Okay, list variant number 4 is basically built around close combat, but it is also built around having the most amount of marines, I guess, as you can. So what I've done to achieve that is I have the berserker champion with the axe. I have the leader champion who also has a power axe and the icon. I have 3 close combat Chaos Marines, and I have a cultist flamer, but they're backed up by a missile launcher. So my idea here is most of these guys are centered around close combat. They're all going to be in very close, but you have the missile launcher in the backfield doing the damage against anything major, like with crack grenades, or hitting hordes with his frag missiles as well. So it's a bit of a different design, but you've gone for more of just total Marines here. So like If you don't want to lose things and you want some good hardy troops, you don't think the enemy has very good AP or something, this might be a good option for you and you want to get in close. Think about that. So this is the 100-point version, and when we go up to 125-point version, what we get is we get an assault cultist, and then we also get the possessed as well. So this makes for a pretty nasty looking team. This guy you can take as a zealot. This guy was combat, as I've said before. And the missile launcher is usually a heavy specialist, so just like the other guy is. So that is the 125-point version of this close combat elite team. This brings us to list variant number 5. Now this one I'm going to call the Terminator list build because, as you can see, it's the only one I've used the Terminator in so far, who is expensive at 34 points. So he, particularly at the 100-point list, it's not that big, but this one sort of maximized it so I can have a reasonable amount of Marines and just a couple of cultists to back it up. So obviously the main dude in this list is going to be our Terminator champion. And he's a powerhouse in close combat and has the combi flamer as well, which is really handy. He's backed up by the autocannon, and the autocannon has the bolt gun guy who can give him a comms bonus. And you have 2 close combat assault marines as well there, which are handy. And they are backed up with, this is the leader of the group, so this is the cultist champion, and he has 2 shotgun guys that are with him as well, and they're mainly obviously objective holders for the back. So you're still with the Terminator at 100 points, you still can get 8 models there, which is pretty strong. I think this list can do a bit of work. It's got a good autocannon support. He's got a good close combat weapons, and it's a decent sort of setup. I mean, once you'll see now, when we go to the 125-point version of this, you'll see how much better it actually gets. So we add in a flamer cultist, and then we also add in old mate champion with the power fist and plasma pistol, which is a great addition to this force. So you can see here at 125 points, this force just got way meaner and really formidable. 125 points, consider that one. It's not your worst option. So there we have the Heratic Astartes competitive kill team roster. Now, I've built it in 5 ways there, but I mean, the choices are, you can just keep going there. You don't have to take it like that. And you can see you can substitute certain models for other ones, like the Cultists, for example, or you can swap the bolt gun marine with an assault marine if you want to, you know what I mean? There's a few different options. The points are a little bit iffy, but as I said, at 125 point lists, these are very competitive teams, I think. I've yet to lose a game with my Heratic Astartes army, and I've had about 10 with this particular roster. I've fought most of the main teams, Azurani, Tau, Orc, other Heratic Astartes, and a few other teams as well, Marines. So it's pretty good. It's not, as I said, like it's not your top tier, super team like Azurani or something, but it's got the potential. Hey, you can actually get some work done with this Heratic Astartes team. I did want to just cover a couple of things I didn't go through as I was talking, because I was just going through the list before. But basically, some of the tactics you can use are really good. And the reason that I've got these guys divided up into sort of different gods like that they worship is for a pretty specific reason. I mean, it's really about what tactics you can use if you do that. So if you're just all Slanesh, then you can only get the Slanesh one. If you're going to do that, which is great. I think it's probably one of the better tactics in the game. So for 2 CP, a Slanesh model can shoot again. So that's why all my gunners are Slanesh. So even in some of those lists you see where I might just say have the autocannon, with that ability, if that's what I'm going to focus my build around, then it's like having 2 autocannons, because if I get to say he's readied and he shoots first, then I can shoot again straight away. So it's like having 2 autocannons or 2 missile launchers or whatever you've got going. So it doubles the amount of gunners that you really have through having that ability. So Slanesh gunners are a really strong, solid option to take with Kill Team. Now, as far as the other stuff goes, with Khorne, any of the Khorne models for 2 command points can fight again as well. So if they've got an enemy within 1 inch of them. So a lot of my leader, like this leader with the Power Fist, is Khorne. And, obviously the Berserkers as well are Khorne. So you can imagine the Berserkers can fight 3 times in one turn, which is brutal. That's if the enemy lasts that long, because as you know, with the Berserkers, they fight, then they can fight again the next turn if you want. The next time fighting comes around for your turn, and then with that other ability, you can boost it again, which is crazy. Now, I think my leader is taken as a Nurgle specialist. I did this one because you can add 1 to the toughness characteristic of that model until the end of the battle round. So I thought instead of making him Khorne and getting that extra attack round, which he's probably not going to use because I've got Khorne, Berserkers and everything, what I would do with my normal Chaos Champion leader, which is this guy over here, is give him Nurgle, because then what he can do for 1 command point, if you can use this, is +1 toughness, makes him harder to kill. He's already got a 4, so that puts him on 5. So then most weapons are going to be like strength 4, so he's going to be harder to kill. So I thought that might be a decent sort of option for him. And finally, as far as the other gods go, so you've got Tzeentch, and the Tzeentch tactic, for 1 command point, you can give any model a 5+ invulnerability save. So what I've done there is I've given all of my close combat Marines Tzeentch as their primary keyword. And also, what that does then is it makes it possible for them to just get an invulnerability save. So, you think they're going to get zapped by a railgun or something in turn 1, you can boost them with invulnerability saves and hopefully survive that first round, because let's face it, with these elite teams, the heavy weapons are the really dangerous thing that can take them out of battle really quickly. So if something like that can just make that a little bit stronger. And I will say I did make a mistake there. He isn't Nurgle, this guy, but you could take him as that because he's got the icon of flame. He has to be Tzeentch. So that was a mistake. Sorry about that. But yeah, that's just how it is. And obviously the cultists can't use these special abilities because they're not included within those, the worship god things. So yeah, that is a basic rundown of the kill team for the Heratic Astartes roster build, and just my thoughts on it. And yeah, please, if you have any comments, please put them below. How do you build? Do you play Heratic Astartes? If you do, how do you play it? This isn't the only list. I mean, I'm just whacking out something which I painted. Obviously, I would have changed models in this if I had the models painted. So, for example, I would have had the autocannon Terminator as well, and maybe had 2 on the list, so you could choose either. He's pretty strong, but the autocannon gives you another bonus too, so you could take both, for example. But yeah, there's a few different things I'd probably do, but other than that, it's a fairly strong list. I mean, the Possessed, not a lot of people use, but I think they can be useful as combat specialists. They're not bad. And they have that extra wound and stuff, so that does make them a little bit harder to kill as well, because everything is pretty much 1 wound except for the Terminator and the Possessed. So yeah, that is those guys. Hope you've enjoyed this episode. Please like, comment, subscribe, everything that you want to do, I'm sure. Yeah, leave your comments and let's get started. This is great, man. It's good to be back. I've had a couple of weeks off through moving, and yeah, it's good to be back into it. Sorry if there's a bit of noise behind me. I'm temporarily right on a highway, a main highway, and there's just no quiet rooms anywhere, so you just have to deal with me for a little while until I get set up elsewhere. But yeah, for now, this is Lucius, WarHQ, and we're signing out.